USA. It's Titletown, it's Green Bay. Back to town, matter hey. Sacrifice the price we pay. Never back down, ain't no way. Champions in every way. Leaders aren't born, they are made. Fight for greatness every day. It's Titletown, USA. Go Pack, go! 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 Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? It's Ryan with the Packers Hub, and today we're going over the 2018 draft for the Green Bay Packers. It was really exciting, man. You know, in the first couple of rounds, got Jaire Alexander and a future first. That was great work by Goot working the board. And then we got Josh Jackson in the second round. I absolutely lost my goddamn mind when we picked Josh Jackson. That was awesome. So, yeah, guys, let's jump right into it. So I already made a video covering Jaire, but just to go over it real quick here. 28.6% catch rate allowed in 2017, second lowest in the draft class. 50.3 quarterback rating when he was targeted. Common Man Football had him as their #1 corner, and so did a few other outlets. But Common Man Football is a big analytics thing, and like I said, I'm not a huge analytics guy. I like watching the tape and getting traits and playmaking skills. I like seeing the actual tape. Analytics is cool. I get the whole analytics movement right now, and a lot of people, I guess, would say, because I love Pro Football Focus, they'd be like, oh, Pro Football Focus is analytics, but they watch the tape, and based on what they see on tape, then they translate it to analytics. So that's why I like Pro Football Focus, because they take the raw data and what they see on tape, and then it goes into the analytics. It's not just, oh, this guy ran fast, so he's in the 76th percentile of the past 40 years of prospects. No, it's not that shit. That's kind of what Common Man Football is, but whatever. They had him ranked as their #1 corner over Denzel Ward. Something concerning about Jaire Alexander. He gave up 6 touchdowns in 2016. Now, pretty concerning. He's susceptible to giving up big plays because of his size. He's 5'10 and a quarter. Giving up 6 touchdowns, it's an ugly number. It's kind of like Adoree Jackson coming out last year, who, like, now that I think about it, I think Adoree Jackson and Jaire Alexander have a lot more in common than I really realized throughout the draft process. But, you know, Adoree Jackson, he gave up 8 touchdowns, I believe it was, in 2016 when he was coming out. So, something that he's got to clean up. I think Mike Pettin, Joe Witt, I mean, they're going to put him in the right situations. Joe Witt's going to coach him up. I don't think that's a huge thing we really need to worry about, but, you know, going into this year, it'll be something to look out for. Him giving up big plays / touchdowns because of his size, potentially. But like I said, I really do love this pick. It was, we traded down, and at first, like I said, I was like, fuck you, Goot. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? We trade down from 14, where Derwin James and Tremaine Edmonds were on the board, and we trade down from there to 27, where there's going to be, like, no impact players on the board. Or, like, no blue chippers, at least. And we had 2 sitting in our lap. So, yeah, at first I was pissed, but I learned a very good lesson in humility, because then Goot trades back up to 18, gets Jaire Alexander. You look at Jaire Alexander's numbers, and the guy's just a stud. I mean, he plays with ferocity. He's in your face, and he's got that swagger factor. And I've said on this podcast before, we need a guy on the defense with swag, and Jaire's got the swag. He's in your face. He's competitive. Like I said, he's got the heart of a lion. I mean, I really do like Jaire Alexander. And the reason why I didn't talk about him too much coming into the draft was, hey, man, he's 5'10 and a quarter. He doesn't meet the thresholds. At least the thresholds we, you know, all think. But then Goot came out and he said he's right on the Mendoza line. So I guess they do have that threshold of 5'10 and a half. But Jaire was probably such a good prospect to them that 5'10 and a quarter, they just said fuck it, and they took him anyway. So we'll see how that goes. But like I said, Goot passed on Tremaine and Derwin, but he got a future first out of it, so now we have 2 first-round picks next year. And if this draft class performs, or at least the top of this draft class performs, Jaire and Josh perform like how we think that they can, then next year, having 2 first-round picks, I mean, that's just the rich getting richer. So, really like what Goot did in the first round, getting Jaire Alexander and getting that first rounder. Moving on to the second round, Josh goddamn Jackson. How the fuck did he fall to us? Him and Isaiah Oliver were on the board. I still can't believe that. And Isaiah didn't... that pissed me off so much. Isaiah Oliver ends up going to the Falcons. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, they really needed him. But now they got him. They got Desmond Trufant and they got Isaiah Oliver on the other side. So that now that's something that we got to deal with in the NFC and potentially in the playoffs. So, and listeners of this podcast, you guys know that I'm a big Isaiah Oliver fan. I thought he was a better fit for what we were trying to run in Green Bay than Josh Jackson. Josh Jackson, everybody says he's not really a press man kind of guy. His best position is to play off coverage and zone, and we don't know what Mike Pettine's really going to do, but based on what we've done before, it's all about press coverage, man coverage, getting in your face, staying on your guy. So it'll be really interesting to see how we use Josh Jackson. Like I said, I thought Isaiah Oliver probably would have fit what we might be trying to do better, but like I said, we don't really know what Mike Pettine's going for, and he was probably the one pounding the table for Josh Jackson. So, really love the pick. Josh Jackson, absolute stud. In my notes, I have unreal, exclamation point. Can't believe he was still there. Really can't. He was the highest graded cornerback in Pro Football Focus history. He was their number 1 cornerback over Denzel Ward, over Jaire Alexander. Highest graded Pro Football Focus cornerback in their history. So there's something to be said right there. And usually, Pro Football Focus, when they grade a guy that high, they usually pan out in the NFL. So when they have guys that they really like, they grade really highly coming out of college, they usually pan out. So far I haven't seen an example where they said this guy's going to be a stud and he ended up being a dud. So really excited for Josh Jackson. Looking at his stats, he had 8 interceptions, 17 passes defensed. This guy's got goddamn ball skills. He can play the ball in the air, and I'm a huge Ohio State fan. Watching him dismantle JT Barrett during this year's matchup was absolutely excruciating. I'm like, who is this motherfucker? He had 3 interceptions, especially that one-handed interception while he was falling into the end zone. Go back, watch that game. It was absolutely incredible. He balled the fuck out. He's got amazing ball skills. That one-handed interception shows you everything that you need to know in terms of his ball skills. He ended up giving up a passer rating of 31.3 when he was targeted and allowed less than half, 43.8% of his passes thrown his way to be completed. This guy is an absolute stud in coverage. People have questions about his tackling ability. We'll clean that up. I'm pretty sure Green Bay rated like number 1, as their corners rated number 1 in run stop ability. So I'm goddamn sure that Joe Witt is going to coach him up. He's going to give him all the knowledge and ability and training that he needs to become a better tackler at the NFL level and a run stopper at corner in the NFL level. So I really love this pick, and some people postulate that he fell because of his 4.56 40. Who gives a shit about the 40? Like, I've never been a combine guy. I think sometimes the numbers are interesting. Like, Jamon Moore ran a 6.56 3-cone. That's a damn good 3-cone. I do like talking about combine numbers in certain situations, but when you look at 4.56 40 and the guy fell to the second round, being the highest graded Pro Football Focus cornerback ever, having 8 interceptions and 17 passes defensed, having 31.3 passer rating when he was targeted, and he fell to the second round because of a 4.56 40. Fuck you, and a large majority of the combine is fucking bullshit. That's why I said I like watching the film. I like watching the film to see how good a player actually is, and Josh Jackson is a goddamn dog. The 4.56 40 means nothing to me. Everything else here, 8 picks, 17 passes defense, 31.3 passer rating when targeted, that means everything to me, and the 4.56 can go fuck itself. I think NFL talent draft evaluators, they put too much stock into these 40 times and shit like that. I mean, it's bullshit. Anyway, moving on to Oren Burks. He sucks. He absolutely sucks. I thought it was a total reach. You look anywhere besides Mike Mayock and Tony Pauline are the only guys that had him rated in like the 3rd round. The only guys. You look anywhere else, he's 5th, 6th, 7th, undrafted. I mean, Oren Burks, and I don't know what Mike Mayock and Tony Pauline saw. Maybe they're just betting on his, again, combine numbers, but he sucks. He absolutely sucks. Watch his game film. Watch Bama. Watch Tennessee. He was awful. He was getting pushed around in the run game. His instincts were pretty poor, to say the least. He has to use every bit of his 4.59 40 and his explosive athletic ability. He needs to use every bit of that to compensate for his bad instincts. He'll be reading plays wrong. He falls for play fakes. He falls for play action. I mean, I just thought it was a horrible value. I did not understand trading up in the 3rd to get him. And there were, granted, there were guys with questions that are still there. Mo Hurst, Josh Sweat. I mean, guys that would be instant contributors. Mo Hurst, highest graded defensive tackle in Pro Football Focus history. Why not get him? Why not take a flyer on him? We have D-line right now. We can let Mo Hurst rest or whatever he needs to do with his heart condition to get better. We can take that. Or Josh Sweat with his knee. The guy is such an explosive athlete. And I really think he was playing in a poor scheme. And when he committed, so I'm a big Ohio State fan, as I already said. When he committed to Florida State, I'm like, why in the fuck would you go there? Because I wanted him to come to Ohio State. And I just thought it was a really poor move by him because the scheme fit was so bad. And you watch that on film. Like, God damn, that guy is in the wrong scheme. He should be standing up, rushing from the edge. He probably would have been best suited to go to like Alabama or something like that, where he could stand up, rush off the edge, or even Ohio State. Play like a 7 technique in a 4-3. That's where he's best suited. But, I mean, sometimes this guy was playing inside shade of the offensive tackle. That makes no goddamn sense to me. But, I mean, still, he played strong, but I do have reservations about his get-off. Sometimes he was the last guy off the line. Anyway, wrapping it all up, Oren Burks, we should have not traded back into the 3rd round to get Oren Burks. This guy sucks. And I'm sorry, and I could be completely wrong. And I hope I am. I hope he's the next Thomas Davis. I really do. But he's a converted safety. He gets pushed around. His PFF grade was 41.9. So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. Oh, but he rated in the 95th percentile of Spark Score rating. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? The guy can't play. If you watch his film, you see that. God damn, dude, I'm tired of the fucking numbers. I'm tired of the athletic numbers. So, does it mean something? Yes, it means something. Shows you the guy. But you should be able to tell that he's an explosive athlete by watching his film. We don't need Spark Score ratings and all this bullshit. But apparently it means a lot to the Packers because all they took were Spark Score superstars. That's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a great thing. But Oren Burks can't fucking play. The only reason he's such an amazing athlete at linebacker is because he's a converted safety. He's got a thin frame. He gets pushed around in the run game. His instincts are questionable at best. I don't like the value here in the third round. The only contribution I see him giving is on special teams. I'll be completely honest. I think he could be a special teams superstar, a captain, if you will. But as far as giving us anything on defense, maybe he's a coverage guy. That's something that I liked at times watching Oren Burks. He's really good at following running backs out of the backfield, following them on wheel routes. The guy could maybe be something in coverage. But you draft a guy in the third round that can play one time of a possession, really? Like third and long. Obvious passing situations is the only time I think this guy could come in. So we traded up to draft a guy in the third round that can only play special teams, really. Or come in very specific passing situations. Third and longs. Yeah, I don't understand it at all. Moving on. J'Mon Moore. Really like this pick. 4.6 40 doesn't mean a goddamn thing. I won't go off on another tangent about that. But the 6.56 3-cone, that does mean a damn thing. Because it shows that he has excellent... what's the word I'm looking for? God damn it. 6.56 3-cone. The guy can move really fast. Change of direction. There we go. 6.56 3-cone shows that he has excellent change of direction. He runs great routes because of that change of direction. Go watch some film, and you'll see right away this guy's turning DBs around. He's throwing out jukes. People are falling on the ground. I think it was against, what was it? I think it was like LSU. He catches a pass, cuts in, cuts back out, and the LSU DB just falls right on his face. Just tripped over his own feet. It was hilarious. But I really like J'Mon Moore. I call him AJ Green light because he's 6'3", just a hair under 6'3". The routes that he runs are incredible. He does need to work on his hands. And yeah, I mean, I just think it was a good pick. I like J'Mon Moore. I think he can contribute, and he's probably going to be the best out of the 3 wide receivers that we drafted, but we'll see. Moving on to Cole Madison. At the time, I was just like, all right. But looking at his tape, watched 3 games, and what I came away with was he needs to get stronger, especially if he's going to play guard. This guy was getting bullied, albeit it was by Vita Vea. But he was getting bullied by number 8 on Washington as well. But Vita Vea and number 8 were tossing him around, throwing him around, pushing him into the pocket. He definitely needs to get stronger. And he has a tendency to lunge. So he lunges, and guys will get him with a swim or something like that. I think that can be coached up. We have James Campen, one of the best O-line coaches in the league. I think the lunging thing can definitely be fixed, but he definitely needs to get stronger. He needs to hit the weights. He can recover really well because of his feet. He's got great feet. Excels in pass protection. He played really well against Michigan State, with the exception of one outside move that beat him. So there were a couple times where I saw an outside move beat him, but it wasn't frequent. It was like maybe once a game. But, I mean, that's all you need. A 4th and long, you got to convert. You got to convert to keep the game alive, and he gets beat with an outside move. And it's something to watch for. Like I said, James Campen coached him up really well. He had a really rough game against Washington. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. I mean, go watch his game against Washington on YouTube. It's It's not good. It's not pretty. He got tossed around. And he had some good reps, but he gave up a few pressures, a sack. It was ugly. Played really well against Stanford, got beat with another outside move that resulted in a QB hit. Also not really a road grader in the run game, and that's something that I have concerns about with his transition to guard, and I think it ties back into him needing to get stronger, is that, all right, if you're playing guard, you need to be a road grader in the run game, and he just isn't. He doesn't really move people off the ball. He kind of like holds them where they are. So, again, he needs to get stronger. We need to see more in the run game. As a guard, he could fare well in pass pro, but moving big guys in the run game could present challenges for him, is what I have in my notes. So, yeah, I think he'd be solid pass protector at guard, but he needs to get a lot stronger, especially if he's going to be handling 300-pound behemoths in the NFL. So, got to hit the weights, Cole. Moving on to J.K. Scott. I really like this pick. Everybody was shitting on the Packers for taking a punter in the 5th round. Who gives a fuck? This guy is a field tilter. Coaches had to dial him back at Alabama because he was out-kicking the coverage. He was hitting 60-yard bombs so frequently that the coverage couldn't get down there in time, and the guy had a lot of room to return the ball. So they worked on it during the offseason. They worked on hang time, and he barely had any returnable punts this year because he was just kicking it sky high, still going 45, 50 yards. And none of the return men could return the ball. So this guy has a cannon for a leg. And I have written down right here, games are won and lost based on the field position battle. And this guy can flip the field. I mean, you saw a couple times with Justin Vogel last year. He shanked a couple. And I think that's why the Packers felt like maybe they needed J.K. Scott. Justin Vogel, he shanked a couple last year, and it set up the opponents in favorable field position for them to go down, get a field goal, get a touchdown. J.K. Scott, I do remember watching one game. I can't remember what game it was, but he did have a shank. So that it's going to be a good competition in training camp to see what happens there. But I do like J.K. Scott a lot. I think he's a dog. He's also a kickoff specialist. So that's another thing to watch in the battle is that he can do kickoffs. So I can't remember if Vogel was doing kickoffs last year or if it was still Mason Crosby. No, I don't think Justin Vogel was doing kickoffs. So it's another thing. It's another thing that JK can add to his repertoire to potentially beat out Justin Vogel for the punting job, which I think is pretty likely. I mean, Vogel was damn good. I think he set the record for Packers punters for like net average or something like that. So it'll be a good battle. And honestly, if J.K. Scott loses and we cut him and he was a 5th round pick, all right, yeah, then I'll be pissed. But if he wins and he's a field flipper like I think he can be, then it was a goddamn great pick. Punters do a lot more than we give them credit for. Like, oh, haha, punter, 5th round. What a bullshit pick. It's like, no, dude, if he can kick 60 yards down the field and completely pin, if he can kick from our 20 to the opponent's inside the opponent's 20, that's goddamn worth it. I don't give a fuck. I think it was a good pick. Moving on. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He's more of a straight line speed guy, deep threat. Doesn't run a ton of routes, but he moved pretty well on on-field drills at the combine. He didn't run a 3-cone, he didn't run a short shuttle, but when he was out there catching passes, running routes, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty fluid. So, another thing to watch in training camp. He's a big guy, 6'4", 10.25-inch hands. He's got huge hands, but here's the weird thing. He dropped a ton of passes. I think he had 97 targets and he dropped 9. He dropped 9 of those balls. So I don't know. And he's also 206 pounds. He needs to add some weight, some muscle so he can beat press coverage. So definitely needs to get bigger. Probably needs to get up to like 215, 220. And the guy ran a 4.37 at the combine. We know he's got speed. Putting on 10 to 14, 15 pounds of muscle or just weight, he's still going to be running like 4.4. I mean, this guy's a speedster. More than likely, he's a punt gunner, which is fantastic because we just got rid of, or we didn't get rid of him. We let Jeff Janis walk. So MVS can step in, be a punt gunner, and he could be a valuable contributor on special teams at worst. So, I mean, didn't really love the pick. Still don't really love the pick, but he's probably a better receiver than I gave him credit for at the time. After watching some film, he's probably a better receiver than I gave him credit for. But still, I'm not expecting anything out of him other than special teams ability. Equanimeous St. Brown. Everyone's favorite pick to outperform where he was drafted. He's got good hands, only dropped 6 passes in his entire career. He's 6'5", 215, and ran a 4.4. Super athlete, huge dude. He's even bigger than MVS. This guy was rated in the 3rd round by some, especially Pro Football Focus had him as like their 62 ranked prospect, and we got him at 206. So, doesn't get a ton of separation, and his production took a nosedive this year. That's probably why he went in the 6th round. He's not the most polished route runner, and there's questions about the production taking a nosedive this year. But let's think back to another wide receiver that was uber athletic, big, coming out of a program where he saw his production severely nosedive and he just said, fuck it, I'm going to the NFL draft. Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster had the same thing at USC. Had a great sophomore season, comes to junior year, shit season, statistically. And comes to the NFL, probably should have been a 1st-round guy, ends up being a 2nd-round guy, and he's a badass in Pittsburgh. So maybe we can expect something similar from Equanimeous. I'm not expecting a whole lot because he was a 6th-round pick, but I think it's pretty intriguing that he's coming to Green Bay, and we have DeShone Kizer. Him and DeShone Kizer, maybe they rekindle what they had at Notre Dame, and that's when Equanimeous was at his best, was when DeShone Kizer was throwing to him. So I think they're really going to push each other. I think that's a really good spot for both of them. And there were rumblings that I heard Equanimeous St. Brown refused to do special teams at Notre Dame, which, listen here, bud, if you want to make an NFL team, especially being a 6th-round pick, yeah, you got to work your ass off, running your routes, catching the balls, all that shit, scoring touchdowns. But the way you make an NFL roster from being a 6th-round pick is special teams. Punt coverage, punt return, shit like that. Being a gunner, running down the field on kickoff, blocking on kick return. That's how you're going to make a team, being a 6th-round pick. So put the ego aside, do special teams, do what you need to do. Make plays on offense by all means, but do everything that you can to make the roster. This guy, 6'5", 215, 4.4 40. I mean, everything's there for him. If he just buckles down, he does what he needs to do, and I think he will because he's got DeShone in his ear pushing him. They can push each other. I really like that. So we'll see what we can get out of EQ moving forward. Next, we have Hunter Bradley, lawn snapper. Fuck yes, dude. Fuck yes. Hunter Bradley, lawn snapper from Mississippi State. Another pick I low-key love. Hey, man, after Brett Good goes down last year, we have other long snappers shanking snaps, really slow snaps, off-target snaps. I mean, Justin Vogel's 6'4". I remember him having to, like, go jump as high as he could to get one of the snaps. So why long snappers are so important, go on another special teams rant here. Why long snappers are so important is if you never even know that they exist. Brett Good played 10 years, and most Packer fans could never even name him. If you said, who's the long snapper for the Green Bay Packers, most people would be like, I have no fucking idea. And that's exactly how it should be. Because as a long snapper, if people know your name, you're probably doing something wrong. Your job is to go out there, execute the snap, bada bing, bada boom. And I said on Twitter, hey man, where does it all start? Who's touching the ball on every single punt that pins an opponent inside their 10? Every game-winning kickoff, it's the goddamn long snapper. That's where the whole process starts. Game-winning field goals, big-time punts. That's where it starts, the long snapper. And this is obviously the Packers' highest-rated long snapper. That being said, he better be a goddamn amazing draft pick because we use draft capital on him. He better be the best goddamn long snapper to ever play the game. But obviously the Packers wouldn't have drafted him if they didn't think that he could provide some kind of, or if he wasn't worth it, then we wouldn't have taken him. We would have gotten him in undrafted free agency. I like the pick because we need consistency at the position. It's a starter. He's a starter. If he wins the long snapping job, we got two starters. We got J.K. and we got Hunter Bradley. Those are two starters. And to get any starters out of an NFL draft is impressive. So we got two starters right away. Two crucial guys, J.K. and Hunter. I think they were good draft picks. Especially Hunter Bradley was in the 7th round, so who gives a shit? It's basically forced undrafted free agency. So, moving on to Kendall Donnerson. Couldn't find any tape on him, so I have no idea. I have no idea how this guy's going to pan out, but as you can probably guess, he's a super athlete. 6'3", 250, 4'4", 40, 40-inch vert, and a 7.033 cone. So, for an edge rusher, I mean, this guy is jumping out of the gym. He's super explosive, super fast, good change of direction, everything that you want in an edge rusher. But you know, he played at Southeast Missouri State for a reason. There's a reason why he wasn't at Alabama, or there's a reason why he wasn't picked in the first, second, or third, or fourth, or fifth or sixth rounds. There's a reason. So I don't know. Maybe if he makes the team, he's a special teams guy. I mean, let's not pussyfoot around. He's a special teams guy. If he makes the team at all, we'll see what he does in training camp and in the preseason, but not really expecting anything. So, obviously, looking at the overall draft class, Brian Gutekunst, he just wanted to make the team more athletic. Most picks were top-tier Spark guys. And, you know, Spark is the athletic testing score and all that shit. So, Oren Burks was like 95th percentile, and Jaire Alexander was 92nd percentile, and Josh Jackson was 91st percentile. So, like, top-tier athletic guys. It seems like Goot just wanted to make the roster more athletic, faster, shit like that. We got a PFF draft grade. Okay. We got a Pro Football Focus draft grade of elite. There was only like 2 other teams that I saw that got elite. It was the Cowboys and I can't remember who else. But we got a draft grade of elite. They love the Alexander pick, especially getting him and a first rounder. And They absolutely love the Josh Jackson pick. Like I said, highest graded corner in Pro Football Focus history. He was number 8 on their board. We got him at 45. They absolutely loved that. So they also loved the Equanimeous pick because we got him at 206 and he was 62nd on their board. And then they also liked Cole Madison. They said whether he stays at tackle or moves to guard, he's probably going to help us out a lot on the old line, which I think he can too, but like I said, he needs to add play strength. He's a good pass protector. He's got great feet, but we got to see a little bit more from him in the strength department, in the run game department. So, yeah, Pro Football Focus draft grade of elite. I mean, and you guys know how highly I think of Pro Football Focus, so that's pretty fucking dope. Players I expect to contribute on offense or defense. I expect immediate contribution from Jaire Alexander, Josh Jackson, Jamon Moore, and somewhat Cole Madison. Because you look at the guard position, and I'll say one thing real quick. I don't trust Lane Taylor. I really don't. We gave this guy a 3-year extension, and it wasn't a lot of money, so I was on board with it. But Lane Taylor, I mean, this guy's never been graded above like 78 for Pro Football Focus. This guy is never graded out as like a good guard. He's always been like average. So I think we can really improve at both guard positions, especially Justin McCray is manning the right guard position right now, which I think Cole Madison, if he doesn't come in and win that from Justin McCray, then Jesus Christ. I mean, we just need more on the offensive line. Bulaga, if he stays healthy, he's a top tier right tackle. We already know that D-back is one of, if not the best left tackles in the NFL. And Corey Linsley, that's another guy that, you know, he started off strong, his career strong, but now it's kind of tapering off. Kind of seems like he was a lot more successful when he had Josh Sitton and TJ Lane and, you know, premier guards playing right next to him. And now that he has Justin McCray and Lane Taylor playing next to him, he's not faring as well. And that makes me scared because we just gave this guy a huge contract. So anyway, getting back to Cole Madison, I think he should come in and he should be competing for a starting job right away at the right guard spot. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, going back, like so here's what I have written down. Important to have low expectations, be patient. So right now, I currently have 0 expectations for anyone other than Jaire Alexander, Josh Jackson, Jamon Moore, and Cole Madison. I have 0 expectations for Oren Burks or... Alright, well, I looking at J.K. Scott, I have expectations that he's going to be good. But in terms of offense and defense, where the most amount of plays can be made, I have 0 expectations for Oren Burks, MVS, EQ, or Kendall Donnerson. 0 expectations. If they outperform and they start being big contributors on offense or defense, fucking fantastic. That I would love for that to happen. But, you know, right now I'm not expecting it. I don't expect them to do shit. And it would be a pleasant surprise if they did. And I think that's an important mindset to have, because so many times, this is really the first year where I'm going into it with that mindset. And maybe I'm a little bit too high on Jaire Alexander and Josh Jackson in terms of impact that they can make immediately. Because, you know, Jaire Alexander, he's not going to be some premier. He could be the best corner stepping on the field day one. First snap, interception, touchdown. I mean, that could happen, but more than likely it's going to be a developmental game. So yeah, I expect really nothing from this draft class. And in past draft classes, well, all right, I don't expect really nothing, but I'm getting to that. I'm making this point as I go along in my mind. I've expected too much from previous draft classes, where I expected guys to be like Pro Bowl players. Like, we get a guy in the 7th round, and I think, oh, he could start, and then ends up getting cut, doesn't make the team, horrible training camp. So as we go along, I'll form more opinions on some of these other guys, but like I said, Jaire, Josh, Jamon, and Cole Madison are Cole Madison somewhat. I somewhat expect, some contribution from him. So, like I said, he needs to get stronger. He needs to be better in the run game. So, I think it's important not to put too much emphasis on Kendall Donnerson. Oh my gosh, he's such a good athlete. He'll be fucking Von Miller screaming off the edge. Like, we got to taper expectations there, guys. So, yeah, that being said, I think that's all I got for you guys today. Check the Packers Hub. Check PackersHub.com for articles and shit. I got to get on it. I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to start cranking out some goddamn articles. I know I'm starting to get on the video grind more, but I got to start doing more articles. Check out the Packers Hub Twitter for my tweets and all that good shit. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Happy drafting.